All right, now we have him placed in. We have texture fills around his breath and his feet. We've dodged and burned and brought out the elements in the color and everything to make it match. So now what do we need to do? Well, we don't really need to do anything else. But we want to. We want to make it more dramatic. So let's add more shading underneath. And so we're actually going to affect the landscape now. And so just like I dodged and burned his arm, I'm now going to select the chunk of land underneath him. Let's see. A large chunk. I already have some of a shadow going on there. And a lot of it's obscured, which helps. But I'm going to take all of that, duplicate it, put it right underneath his feet. And then I'm going to go to levels and just darken that section there. Making it pretty dramatic so you can see it pretty clearly there. And then I'm going to limit the deep blacks to keep it all pretty dark. Okay, and then I need to do the same thing. So that's the shadow. I need to do the same thing to this cutout of the skull and the bones that I'm using to overlap his feet. Okay, so I'm going to go to, I can make a copy if I'm feeling unsure. I'm going to do that. Darken just the midtones a little bit and limit some of the blacks. And now, of course, I've got to clean that up. But remember, I've got my clean background behind all of this, so I can feel pretty safe erasing at 100% with the soft edge. On these different features. Now the shadow logic works that the shadow is darkest and sharpest the closest to its source. So this darkness here, I want it to look like it's underneath his hand, like his hand is really close to the ground, kind of like the shadow under the skull there. And it's going to be sharpest and darkest close to his feet as well. And again, a lot of it's just getting rid of your hard edges. It's nice to always obscure where your feet are touching the ground with something organic. That's why I'm happy to have this whale skull there. Whoops. Erasing from the wrong layer. Now this one can go even darker. And I can also dodge and burn. We're just trying to make the scene as dramatic as we can, using the lighting and the shading. Now I can combine those layers together. And now I'll erase away with a little more subtlety. Don't let the computer catch up with me. That reminds me I should probably save my work. We're asking a lot of Photoshop at the moment. And it's all about how detail-oriented you want to be. So you're going to take the opacity down a little bit on all the dust around the feet. I think that's accomplished now. All right, so now, last thing for kind of the strong effect of this is I'm going to bring in a new element, and that new element's going to be smoke and steam coming out of that volcano in this cold environment. And so I'm going to go back to Google image searches. Whoops. Instantly he's underwater. Well, I don't want that. Where's the texture fill? There. A little bit more here. Okay, so save it. While it's saving, gonna go to Google and going to search for smoke and fire. You might even have it from your assignment 2 folders. In fact, I think I do. But again, they're just texture fills. This is pretty nice. Open it in a new tab. That was pretty nice. So let me show you how I work with these. I drag them onto the desktop. Notice I'm not limiting their size, but they do need to be good quality images. And if they don't look like good quality images, then I don't want to use them. Okay, then I simply am going to bring them on as another texture fill. Drag them from the desktop, bring them on as a smart object. Shrink them, distort them, warp them as I need to do what I want. Okay. I'm actually going to move this down a little and just select around what I want to keep, which is all this cool stuff. Somehow I think this might have been photoshopped too. But we are using it to fit our own vision, right? I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to erase the smart layer. I'm going to place this in. Now this is going to be the last thing I do before I save it as a PSD, as assignment 3, and as a JPEG to upload. Okay, and then I'm going to use different blending modes and see if one of them gets me closer than another. That's pretty nice. And now I obviously want to get rid of all that green. Like so. And then I can play with the opacity and with the softness and hardness of that. So I'm going to blur it a little bit, not too much. And I can use our adjustments, kind of lighten it. What would flame look like in this environment? How contrasted would it be? How light and dark? And I can move it underneath some of the texture fills, so it's more subtle. And then, of course, soft, low opacity erasing. Okay, so something like that. Clouds of flame coming off of it. Okay, now I want the steam. I want the smoke. And I want a lot of it. So I'm going to go right to this source. Oops. Push it up on the top of everything. Select around what I want to keep. All of that, duplicate it, erase the layer underneath, and the same sort of things. I think soft light works pretty well. I'm going to erase away. Going to get rid of the blues just by using a color balance or a hue saturation on it. Taking that saturation down quite a bit. All right, and there I have my special effects spewing from there. If I think they're too strong, I can always erase away. I think I will erase away from the core here.